What's up, everybody? This is Edward, your favorite homeboy, and today we're here with my special guest, Don Shaw with Shaw Services.
Hey, Edward. Thanks for having me.
You got it.
Today we're going to tell you a little bit about your cooling system at the house, give you some tips on some maintenance, and help you to maybe prolong the life of your heating and cooling system at your rental properties or at your own home.
Yeah, and this is relevant for you whether you're an investor or whether you are a homeowner or whether you're a renter, because no one wants that system to go out prematurely in a hot summer, or you don't want that heat to be gone in a cold winter. So learning how to take care of that unit, best practices for replacement, that type of thing, is gonna be important for everybody. So before we get started, Don, what's it gonna be? We have cocktails or coffee?
Since it's midday and I like a little extra caffeine, I'll take the coffee.
All right, you're gonna be grinding the beans, so just wanna let you know that. All right, let's get started. All right, Don, we're in the favorite part of the house, the mechanical room.
We're in the basement.
Yeah, not a really nice, what do you call that, camera room or filming room, but hey, this is practical. Here, you, this Valentine's Day, you and your best lover. Well, cheers.
Thank you. Thanks
Cheers.
for having me.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for the strong coffee.
Yeah, good. Wakes me up too. I was driving a lot today, so it's good. How do we meet, and how'd you get into the business?
Sure. So we met at a networking group that we both belong to, and we're also members of the same church. How did I start doing this? I've done this since I was 18. I've always liked to build things and make things, and I've been doing this for 35 years. Mm-hmm. I've owned my own business for 16 years. So today we're just going to really talk about some preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
Some things that are going to help your clients to improve the longevity of their heating and cooling systems.
Cool. So we're sitting by old Bessie here. Old Bessie. How long do these things last about?
Well, Bessie's pretty new. I think she's about 2 years old. Typical life expectancy is 10 to 20 years.
Okay.
Sometimes longer depending on the appliance. But this one's considered new. Obviously, most of the products have a 10-year part warranty now. So that's really the normal life expectancy of a normal.
Kind of like a car. It's like, it used to be 100,000 miles was like awesome, and then now it's kind of like, 200,000 is expected. But every now and then you see the 1 million miler car. You're like, I want to be like that guy.
It's really about how much maintenance you do.
Yeah.
It's really like any other mechanical device.
So let's talk about that maintenance. So whether I'm a landlord or a homeowner, we want to keep costs down. So preventive maintenance is important. What are some things we can do to prolong the life of these?
So a couple things. These machines are running for 20 years. They need to be looked at periodically. Sort of like an automobile. You want to have it maintained, have the oil changed. It's sort of what you're doing with a preventive maintenance inspection. These items are burning natural gas, some of them. They need to be inspected at least once a year. If nothing else, to make sure that they're operating safely.
Okay.
So I would
inspection.
Right. Okay. So we can do one
Once
of
a
two
year.
things: a one-time inspection once a year, or some of our clients choose to do a maintenance agreement where we're coming out twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. Right. I think a lot of people like that maintenance agreement. They want to develop a relationship with their contractor. They want to build a rapport with them and really be able to trust them.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to have one guy who kind of knows the history, or at least one company that knows the history, versus 3 or 4 people, and they don't know what it's been through.
So normally we're sending the same technician to the same house. Our clients get comfortable with that particular technician. The technician knows the history of the machine. They're visiting at least once or twice a year. That's going to enhance the performance of the machine. We're going to look for potential problems and safety issues as well.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, always, anytime you have a gas burning appliance in the house, you need to have a carbon monoxide detector. It's just as important as a smoke detector. So any of your properties that are out there, make sure that they have a carbon monoxide detector in place.
Yeah, currently those aren't required, but it's definitely good practice, even for a landlord. I'm surprised. They're probably moving towards that direction.
Something happens to somebody every year because of it.
Wow. Let's talk filters for a sec. So one of the things as a property management company that we're trying to, be on the edge with things is, being kind of cutting edge is we have a filter delivery service. So for the owners that opt in, which is most of our properties, the tenants are receiving a filter delivered every month to their door just to help remind them to replace the filter. So how important is that?
It's the most important thing that a tenant or a homeowner can do. You're removing airborne particulates from the air as well as contaminants with that filter. As the filter loads up, it affects the performance of the blower.
Yeah.
You really don't get the velocity that you should.
And it's easy to do. I mean, just take it out.
Very
stick it in.
simple normally. There's usually a small door like you have. Just sort of flipping it to one side. The filter's here.
Yep. Make sure it's right
Normally
in the right
pretty
direction
simple.
and all, right?
So there's an arrow on the filter. The arrow is always pointing toward the appliance. So the arrow is always pointing toward the furnace.
Got it.
Typically, if we have a regular customer, we're going to mark that for you so you
Okay.
can't get it wrong with a small arrow.
All right, cool. So we talked about maintenance, so avoid premature failure. Again, whether you're living there and it's not your house, that's still important. And whether it's your house, of course, you want to reduce expenses.
Just an idea what the components are.
Yes, yes.
So when you're looking at your system, it really depends on a couple of different things. If you have fossil fuel, natural gas, oil, LP, that's considered a furnace. So
Okay.
in your case, you have a natural or an LP gas furnace. So from here down is typically considered the gas furnace, where my hand is to the floor.
All right.
This section in here is considered the indoor evaporator coil.
Okay.
That's why you see the line set. This connects to the machine outside.
I see.
And they work together. The indoor evaporator coil and the outdoor condensing unit are considered the cooling system. From here down is considered the heating system.
Good.
So if you have a heat pump, generally that's referred to as an air handler, and this entire section is one piece.
Okay. Heat pump meaning it's electric.
Right, so
Okay.
heat pump means there's no availability for fossil fuel normally. Natural gas line's not out on the curb.
Okay.
LP is limited. People sometimes don't want oil.
Yeah.
Really the best alternative after that is a heat pump.
Okay.
So all electric homes.
Okay. So now this is the indoor unit. The outdoor unit you referred to as the condensing unit.
Right.
Talk about the major components out there for a sec.
So you've got some motors out there, some spinning devices. The compressor is essentially a motor, the outdoor fan motor, and then you have an outdoor evaporator coil and some starting components.
Okay.
Really, the main failures out there in the summer, normally capacitors
go out all
fail
the time.
quite frequently now.
Yeah.
20 years ago, not so much, but now they do fail quite frequently. And really, there's no predicting it. So all the maintenance in the world
Not gonna
cannot,
predict that.
we take a measurement to measure microfarads or the capacity of the capacitor. And that will determine if the rating's within a certain range. It'll determine whether it's weak.
Okay.
Normally, we're testing that on maintenance.
Okay. So capacitor. What else fails on the outside condensing unit?
Compressor. So I'd say the main four items may be capacitor, some of the spinning items like the motors, a compressor. Another item might be a refrigerant leak. Typically, anytime people say,
It's
I
not
need
cooling,
Freon,
right? Yeah.
if somebody needs Freon, there's a leak in the system.
Okay. Like they're saying it's not getting cold, right?
It's a sealed system, so let's say it's not cooling well and a technician has to come out to add refrigerant to a system.
Right.
That's really not fixing anything. It's really sort of band-aiding the problem.
Yeah.
Anytime a system's low on refrigerant, there's a system leak.
And what you're hoping for is that that leak isn't like super fast. It's kind of slow if they're band-aiding it, because otherwise that's expensive to keep filling it up.
Right, so the
without
R22 is Freon, as most people refer to it. It's being phased out,
Yeah.
or has been for the
get
last
more
25
and more
years.
expensive to
So,
add that.
right. So they're limiting the production, the federal government. Anytime you limit production, it adds to a demand for it, and the price goes up.
Okay.
So that's really where we're at. We're making that transition into 410A.
So now I have another question, Don, is the coil. When people say, hey, I want to get my coil cleaned, or do you recommend getting the coil cleaned, and is it the outside and inside, or just?
Typically, that would be something that we would see on an inspection. We would make recommendations.
Yeah.
To clean an indoor evaporator coil is a little difficult.
Okay.
These components need to come apart.
Okay.
I need to be able to get on the underside of the indoor coil.
Okay.
The dirt is on the underside of it, not
see.
on top. The outdoor coil, it's going to affect performance in the cooling mode.
So it's more likely that when people want a cleaning of the coil, is it maybe the
It
outside?
typically refers to the outdoor coil,
I see.
and what that
Right.
does is the outdoor coil is rejecting. It's really, put simply, this machine's moving heat from inside to outside, and it's rejecting heat at the outdoor coil. If it's blocked with debris, it inhibits that.
Okay.
And
How
it
often do you
really-
recommend that? Just
Probably once every 5-10 years.
okay. Okay. Cool. That's
But
not
really,
something-
there's an advantage there because the machine is going to consume more power with a dirty outdoor coil.
Got it. All right, Don. So here's a good question for you. So sometimes, these units can last, 10 to 20 years, like you said. And as you know, it's kind of like a car. You don't want to replace the engine of a car if the car is like 15 years old. Sometimes you want to just replace the entire car. Well, that's happened to us before, where maybe the outdoor condensing unit had a pretty major repair, and the entire unit was probably borderline 5-10 years. And what's a good rule of thumb to know? Should we replace both at the same time, or should we just give it a new engine?
Right. So normally I would suggest it always be a matching set.
Okay.
In the case of the old refrigerant R22,
All right.
there's really no decision to be made. It has to be a matching set. You have to convert both.
So that's the easy decision.
Right. So both
Okay.
indoor evaporator coil and outdoor condensing unit
has to be
a matching set.
Okay.
I would really, my recommendation would be, and it's a case by case basis. If something's less than 8 years old,
Okay.
then you might want to consider doing just one of the components.
Okay. Okay.
But normally, these products, when they're rated for efficiency and energy usage, they're a matched set.
Okay.
In other words, all the components are matching.
Okay.
When some of the manufacturers specify a specific outdoor unit, it needs to be with a specific indoor section.
Now, if you don't, let's just say it's 7 years old and you only replace the outdoor unit, would that outdoor unit still be under warranty?
It would still be under
Okay. Doesn't void the warranty.
It doesn't
because you
void the
didn't- okay,
warranty.
that's cool.
The main thing that would be affected would be the efficiency of the product.
Got it.
Without the matching
Got
set.
it. Okay, that's great. Lastly, if someone's watching right now and they're like, hey, perfect timing, I want to replace my unit, but I have a rental home, so I don't want to go all out with the most high-tech stuff. We want to control costs. So what would you recommend as far as their purchasing decision?
So you really would be selecting a brand rather than the efficiency.
Okay, go
So
for a
let's start
brand.
with brand.
Okay.
The higher quality brands are a little more expensive. Just some brand names would be Carrier, Train.
Train.
Some of the other brands are geared more for a budget market, maybe
Bryant.
Goodman or an off-brand
Okay.
or Heil.
All right.
So when you're doing your selections
Okay.
on a rental property, keep in mind that you're not living there.
Right.
You're not paying for power consumption. Your tenant is. You probably want to just stay with a reliable, more standard efficiency
Train and
product.
Carrier is what you recommend?
Yeah, so you're picking brand and then you're picking efficiency.
Okay.
So typically in a rental property, I would focus more on brand. If you're going to put your money into something, the efficiency really has to do with power consumption, and
So just get like a basic,
a nice,
entry
high
level.
quality,
Okay,
standard efficiency.
got it.
Keep in mind, standard efficiency, the high efficiency products have a lot more components, a lot more electronics. The components are normally more expensive,
Okay.
more difficult to troubleshoot, so keep that in mind as well when you're selecting your product.
Now, doesn't Carrier make a kind of like a sub-level brand? Was it like?
Carrier manufactures 4 or 5 different
Okay.
brands.
And
So,
are those just as good?
yeah,
pick
they're
those?
really manufactured the same way. Some of the
Okay.
marketing's done a little bit differently.
What are some of those brands?
Bryant.
Bryant. Okay, so Bryant would still be decent choice.
Bryant's a
you
good
think?
brand.
Okay.
Heil is another brand.
Okay.
The Carrier also.
Anything in
manufactures.
that family, Carrier family.
The Carrier family
Okay.
is a good brand. You know, really, that's really why you want to build a relationship with a contractor. You really want to be able to trust their opinion. They're giving you advice on really expensive decisions that you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
That's kind of why you want to build a relationship with them. So you know you got somebody reliable. You know that you got somebody that's going to be looking out for your best interest. That's why, you know, really a maintenance agreement's important. And I think that each situation is a little different.
Yeah.
If you're able to trust your contractor, I think that's the most important item.
Cool. Hey, so that's why we're trusting you,
Thanks,
and
buddy.
you're a preferred vendor.
Thank
and
you.
that's about it. You know, we're glad that you guys were able to listen to this interview. And if you have any HVAC issues, you know, we're going to put Don Shaw's information down below. And
Thank
just
you.
call Shaw.
Thank you.
And he'll take care of you. And if you we manage any of your properties, Shaw's one of our preferred vendors. So we're glad that we have our bases covered there. So again, don't forget to comment below for what you liked about this video. And if you want to see any future content, let us know. Don't forget to share this with your friends and subscribe. Again, this is your favorite homeboy signing out.